Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. In the previous video I used this Python script in order to connect to Strava's application programming interface, and I was able to fetch my activities. And in case you haven't watched this video, I'll make sure to link it in the description. In the end, I was able to create a database that currently contains of only one table that I called Strava activities. And if I run it, we will see here that it contains 1504 rows. And that's exactly the number of activities I have here in my Strava dashboard, with the last one being from earlier today as I'm recording this video. It is March the 14th, 2026. And also in the previous video, I was able to write a bunch of easy queries just to check if the data was loaded successfully. So once again, this is the number of all activities. Then this was the total running distance and number of runs. And I was also able to split my activities per type. And yeah, most of those are running. And then finally, I was able to get my longest run, which seems to be Frankfurt Marathon. And again, if you haven't watched it, very quickly, if I filter here, we'll see this is the Frankfurt Marathon. It was on October the 29th, 2023. And as mentioned, this is likely a GPS error because I'm not sure why would I want to run 700 meters more during a marathon. And this is the road of Frankfurt Marathon. So in this video, I would like to write a little bit more difficult SQL queries in order to check these stats. And I think most of those are not so easy to be discovered using Strava's interface. It doesn't matter if it's the desktop app or the mobile app. So let's go back and let's first get the total running distance per year. So let's see the table once again, because I don't remember all the column names. So since I'm interested in the running distance, first I should filter where the activity type has the value run. So where activity type equals run. And then I need to first extract the year from the start date and then simply to sum what I have here in the distance underscore kilometers column. So in SQL Server Management Studio or SQL Server that uses transact SQL, I think there is the function year, and we can pass here start date, and this should return only the year. So let's see if it works. Then it seems that it's working, and I'm gonna give this an alias of year and then simply sum distance underscore kilometers as distance. And since I'm using a grouping function or an aggregate function, I need the group by clause here. Group by year start date. And let's see if this works. I assume I should also sort the data in order to appear better. So yeah, it seems that this works, and I started running in year 2019, and then COVID hit, so I had to postpone my running career a little bit. And I think the year that I covered most distance is definitely 2024, 3,700 something kilometers. And since then, I've been chased by injuries. In 2026, it's, as mentioned, middle of March already, and I've barely run 430 kilometers. Trust me, I have months that I covered more than that. And actually, I'm gonna prove this once we get to this query. So let's proceed with the next one then. Countries in which I have any activities. So now at least I will not filter here where the activity type equals run. However, since I live in Bulgaria, then more than 90% of my activities will be in Bulgaria. So I'm interested to see in what other places I have some activities. So therefore, I'm gonna write here where country is not equal to Bulgaria, and then I can write here city, comma country, and if I use group by city, comma country, this will leave only the unique combinations of city, country. And if I click execute, and maybe for better visibility, I will order the data by country. So order by country, and this will order in ascending order from A to Z. So obviously I have activities also in Austria and a lot more in Germany. And I have also a few in Poland, Spain, and one in Switzerland. I'm pretty sure I also have activities in Netherlands and maybe some other country, but as we say sometimes, if it's not on Strava, it doesn't count, or it never happened. Let's proceed with the next one then. 10 longest runs. So select star from DBO Strava activities. And here I can use a window function using this column here, distance underscore kilometers. So comma, I'm gonna use simply row number over, and here I'm gonna write distance underscore kilometers order by, actually I think the correct sequence is order by distance underscore kilometers in descending order, and I'm gonna give this an alias of rn. Now let's see if this works, because window functions are a bit trickier, and I'm not gonna lie, many times I have to Google before writing those. So let's see if this works. And it seems to be working, but one thing that I should have started with is I should have filtered first the activity type. So where activity type equals run, because obviously I don't have a run of 111 kilometers. But if I run this again, then I think it has correctly ordered my running based on the distance, obviously in descending order. And since I'm interested only in the 10 longest runs, then I can use this as a subquery. So select star from, and I will wrap this in parentheses and indent it to look better, and give it a name, let's say subquery. Although a lot of times I simply write here T for table, but let's write subquery now. And then I can filter that subquery and this rn row number column where the value is less than or equal to 10. And now if I execute this, then the query will return exactly 10 rows. And since I'm not interested in all fields, then let's just get first the start date, but without these, without the timestamp. And I think we can use the cast function here for this, and pass start date here and cast it simply as date. And I'm gonna give it an alias as date. Then the activity type, since we filter on running, it's going to be run everywhere, so I'm not gonna include it, but I can get the activity name and then city, comma country, the distance, and let's also get the formatted pace, and I'm simply gonna call this column pace to occupy less space. So if I click run, then yeah, we can see that these are my top 10 longest runs, and I have run apparently 6 marathons, and most of those are just some training sessions. So let's proceed to the next one. This one is a little bit trickier. Get the top 3 longest runs per year. So select start from DBO Strava activities. It's kind of similar to what I just wrote. However, I will have to partition by the year from the start date. So that means that I will have to extract also the year. So comma, and this time I'm going to use another window function, rank, and I'm going to write here over, and here I'm going to write partition by, and since I need to extract the year from the start date, year start date, order by distance underscore kilometers in descending order. And let's see if this is correct. And I'm gonna give this column a name, ranked runs. So if I click execute now, and once again I forgot to filter on run, where activity type equals run. All right. Yeah, I think that's correct, because as we saw in 2019, I just started running, and I believe that my longest run was 10 kilometers. When I started running, I could barely run like 5 kilometers without being left without breath. So now I can use this as a subquery and return all those rows where this is less than or equal to 3. So once again, select star from this. I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to give it a name subquery and indent it where subquery.ranked runs less than or equal to 3. And once again, I'm not interested in all the columns. So let's save some typing, and I'm gonna simply copy the data from here. And this should be the entire query, and let's see if it works. And yeah, I think that's correct. In 2019, as mentioned, I was totally out of shape. So my longest run was 10 kilometers. And then in 2020, I started running a little bit more. I almost got to the 10-mile mark. But in 2021, I ran my first marathon here in Bulgaria. And then I ran 2 more marathons in 2022 and another 2 in 2023. And my last marathon was in Switzerland, in Geneva. And to date, this is my last marathon, simply because I've been chased by injuries. This year, as mentioned, I'm not training so consistently, and I have a bunch of 15 to 19K, and these are just training sessions. All right, let's proceed to the next one. This is bucketed count of runs by distance. Or in other words, I want to create buckets and to see exactly how many of my runnings are between 5 and 10K and so on. So let's write something like this. Let's first get the entire table. And this is not a very difficult query to write, but it's gonna be a long and a messy one. And I'm gonna use a case when statement for this. So, but first I don't know why do I always forget to filter the activity type on run. So when distance underscore kilometers is less than 5, then I'm gonna call this, it will have the value less than 5k. And now I need to copy paste this a bunch of times. And when it's less than 10, here I'm gonna write 5-10 kilometers. And the next bucket is between 10 to 15 kilometers. So when it's less than 15, then this becomes 10-15 kilometers. And then the next bucket is from 15 to 21. So when it's less than 21, then this becomes 15 to 21 kilometers. And then when it's less than 42 kilometers, then this becomes 21-42 kilometers. And then else, meaning when it's more than 42 kilometers, then I can simply write greater than 42 kilometers. And finally end, and I'm gonna give this column some name, let's say bucket simply. Now it doesn't underline it, so I guess for now the query is correct. And I need to count how many runs I have. So comma.count. And again, I'm using a grouping function, so I need a group by clause. And in the group by, I will directly copy paste this entire thing because I don't want to write it again. If I run this, I assume that it should work. Yeah, let's give this count as an alias as count. Oops. Execute. And it seems that it's working, but let's order by count in the sending. And I believe I can also get the total distance. So some distance underscore kilometers as distance. Yeah, the query became a little bit longer. All right. So it seems that most of my runs are between 10 to 15 kilometers. And we runners sometimes say that 10k a day keeps the doctor away. But that's not quite the case with me because I've visited the doctors many times due to injuries in the past years. And yeah, we saw earlier that I have run 6 marathons. I very rarely would run less than 5k. And I have run almost 60 half marathons, although most of these are just training sessions. All right, let's proceed to the next one, the month in which I covered most distance. This time, the first thing I'll do is filter on the activity type, or else I'm gonna forget it. And now this is not a difficult query to write, but I will have to extract the year and the month, and then I'll have to sum the distance. So I can write year from start date, and I'm gonna give this an alias as year, and then month from start date as month, and then I can sum the distance underscore kilometer column. And obviously I need to do by since I'm using aggregate function, and now it's gonna get mad at me because I'm not allowed to use aliases here. So if I run this, then it's going to work. And yeah, let's give this column a title. And now I need to get the month with most distance, and there are many ways to do this. This time I'm gonna use the top keyword, which is available in SSMS. It's not available in other SQL dialects, but let's save some time. So I'm gonna use this as a subquery. And I think I can write here top one, and I need to order by subquery dot distance, obviously in descending order. So let's see if this is going to work. Yeah, it seems that it's working, and in July of 2024 I covered 417 kilometers. As mentioned, there are months in which I've covered more distance than what I have covered for these 2.5 months of 2026. Let's proceed with the next one. This fastest 10K, fastest half marathon, fastest marathon times. And obviously, once I write the first query, from then on, it's gonna be copy and paste. So let's start with the fastest 10K. So select star from DBO Strava activities. This time I will directly write where activity type equals run. And I would also filter here. I will filter the distance. And obviously in a race, you will never run exactly 10 kilometers. So therefore, I'm gonna write here distance between, let's say, 10 and let's say 10.5. So this will only filter the runs between 10 and 10.5 kilometers. And to get which is my fastest one, I once again can use a window function. And I think I can use this formatted pace. And I'm gonna sort in ascending order. Obviously, 7.20 per kilometer is a slow run. 8 is even slower, and so on. I think my 10K pace should be around 340 something, right? So, comma, and I can use roll number over, and here I can write order by formatted underscore pace in ascending, and I'm gonna give this a title of RN. So if I click execute now, then it returns that obviously my fastest 10K time is around 37 minutes something, with 344 pace. So to get only the first row, I can use this as a subquery, and let's do this. Subquery where subquery.rn less than or equal to 1. Actually equal to 1, it can be less than 1. And maybe I should get only those columns. so I don't see the entire table. And yeah, it returns on those fields. And maybe instead of fastest, maybe you'll be interested in my, let's say, top three fastest. And in this case, all I need to do is change this to less than or equal to 3. And I think for those that are interested to monitor their progress, writing a query like that is a great way to do so. And obviously, in a data world, then you probably want to maybe connect this to either Excel or Power BI in order to create some charts and see exactly um, how your 10K, half marathon, marathon time changes over time. Like in my case, 10K is not a interesting distance for me. I think that was the only race in 10K that I ever participated. And now just I can just copy paste this and change this to, let's say, top 3 half marathon marathons. And if I paste it here, I should only change this. So let's say between 21.08, I believe, to, let's say, 21.5. Everything else is the same. So if I execute it, yeah, my fastest half marathon is 3:58 pace. I think that's around 1 hour 23 minutes, but I'm not sure why didn't I include the moving time column. Yeah, so 83 point something minutes, so that's 1 hour 23 minutes something. And then fastest marathon, then this time the distance should be greater than or equal to 40.2195. And yeah, my fastest marathon was in Geneva. I think I finished in 2 hours 57 minutes something. And I think I can show this activity. Geneva. Yeah, here it is. It was on May the 5th, 2024. This is me at the end of the marathon. And this was the road, very beautiful and scenic road in Geneva, Switzerland. And then let's get to the last one. Days I have run twice, and each run was longer than 5 kilometers. Now, in a marathon training blocks, I often run 2 times a day, let's say 10 to 12 kilometers in the morning and another 8 to 10 kilometers in the evening. So let's see exactly how many days I have done this. So select star from dbo.strava activities, where activity type equals run and distance in kilometers greater than or equal to 5. And since I'm interested in days, then I can get the I can use cast here in order to get only the date without these timestamps. So cast start date as start date as date. This must be in parentheses, and this will be the alias. This is a little bit confusing. And then I need to count. This will return the count of the so-called double days in which I have run more than 5 kilometers. And yeah, it's complaining because I need the group by clause. All right, so most of the days obviously will be ones. And now I need to filter only those where I have run at least two times. And one way to do this is to use a subquery. However, a more convenient way will be using the halving clause. Halving count greater than or equal to 2. And I will order by count in descending order. And there are 94 days in which I have run at least two times, and each run was more than 5 kilometers. And this here where it says 6, that's not some mistake. In March of 2022, I did the so-called 4x4x48 David Goggins challenge, which is running 4 miles every 4 hours in duration of 48 hours. And I think if I title those runs correctly, then I will be able to prove this. So yeah, practically on every 4 hours, I was running 4.5 kilometers, which is a little bit more than 4 miles. It was a very, very difficult challenge, but as you can see, I have completed it successfully. And most of my, other than that, like I said, in marathon training blocks, I sometimes run twice a day. And that was the reason in 2024 to accumulate more than 500 kilometers, simply because in many of those days I was running, I was doing double days, as we runners say. All right, so thanks for watching. It was a long video, and in the next video I'm going to add a new table to this database, and I'm gonna add my running shoe information, as I'm extremely interested to calculate exactly how much money I spent on running shoes. In the meantime, if you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.